Hi all, welcome to a breakdown review of Berserk episode 3. Today we are going to discuss the following three topics. Number 1, our opinions about this episode. Number 2, what we think is going to happen in the next episode. And number 3, our favorite and the worst part of this episode. So let's get this started. Says, what are your thoughts about this episode?
The episode started where it left off. We immediately saw Serpico react to the demons, though with awe and unsure what just happened. That actually surprised me, showing he hadn't had an encounter with demons before. At the moment I thought, so if he hasn't killed demons before, how can he be strong enough to seemingly instant KO Guts in the last episode? The next person to get to experience demons herself was Farnese. Her reaction was priceless and showed how clueless she was. In his own twisted way, Gus explained that he called them miracles. The story moved towards the mansion, where Guts was headed anyway, as he explained. Here, Guts, Puck, and Farnese were first attacked by demon dogs. While Guts sliced and diced, Farnese ran and did nothing at all or just make life harder for Guts. It's here that the Uncanny Valley became excruciating and took me out of the world of the anime. In the messed up demon world of the Golden Arc movies, what happened to Casca, it was just painful to watch, disgusting and uncomfortable. The only thing I can think of at the strip scene and the horse scene was how fake it looked and moi as a reaction. Back at the story, we had a demon apostle with a bitter and sad story. Guts don't care though, he just needed some information. After dragging his foot for a bit, get it? Guts made short work of him. The last part showed a vengeful Farnese who would make Guts regret everything. Serpico and Guts gave a quick but awesome display of their power. We saw the graveyard of demon dogs that Serpico left behind. How are you that strong, dude? And then we saw an epilogue that was quite interesting, but I'll come back to that later. What did you think of the episode, Khan?
I would love to say that this episode was nice, but it has a major Nipplegate scandal, bigger than the one that Janet Jackson had during her Super Bowl performance. Do you know why it's so big, Says?
No.
I don't know either. The nipples of Farnese were so big that you cannot see them. Seeing Farnese being nippless was a major distraction for me. It was so difficult to follow in the storyline of this episode. It was as if she was wearing a body-colored legging for her breast or something like that. Despite this Nippless gate, the story of this episode was okay. One of the demons was an apostle, and the battle between him and Guts was nice, and there was a pretty quick background story around that apostle demon. But eventually, that background story doesn't have any real meaning. Um, I must say, the apostle demon was better drawn than the demon tree, but the battle scene was still, how can I say it nicely, it still needs some improvement because the battle was sometimes a bit blurry. I didn't know what was happening, or yeah, it was come to a point that I was a bit confused whether that apostle had the leg of guts in his mouth or not. But I must say, for the manga fans, the only comfort that this episode gave was that it deleted lesser manga arcs compared to the previous episode, and it has his famous horse rape scene. And I think for many manga readers that will be a relief. For me, I think it was good to see that scenes as well because this is really what Berserk is all about. It's about gore. It's supposed to be dark, and a lot of nasty things is going to happen, and you shouldn't be, if you have followed the anime and the movie of Berserk as well, you shouldn't be surprised about the rape scene because you could say basically every major character in Berserk has been raped or has a lot of attempts of being raped. But yeah, to put it all together, this episode could have been a nice one, but I must say, compared to the previous one, I just dislike this episode very much because of the animation and the Nippless Farnese. I don't. I believe at one point Farnese doesn't even have a belly button. But anyways, Says, what do you think is going to happen in the next episode? What are your expectations?
In the epilogue, we saw how the world was divided, each having a kind of demon king. They were curious what the hawk was going to do. Does that mean that except Griffith there are even more powerful demons? I thought the movie made him into a demon king. Will there be a game between them and Griffith? Well, we also saw the Kingdom of the Golden Ark movies, and Charlotte is still in grief. We then heard that the hawk was returning. I knew that we would get a continuation, but not this direct. What will Griffith do? Are apostles the same as the presumed demon kings? And what will Guts do when he hears about Griffith's return? Well, what are your thoughts about this, Con?
I think in the next episode we can expect some action about of that bishop guy, and maybe we see some story development around the character Griffith as well, the main enemy of Guts. Says, so what were your favorite scenes of and the worst scene of this episode? Says.
My favorite scene was without doubt the short power of display between Guts and Serpico. The worst was everything to do with Farnese, her animation, and even her motivation and speech at the end. I'm getting tired of that.
I didn't have the favorite scene this time because the Nippless Farnese have ruined the episode for me. It was too much of a distraction, and although the scene where Guts and Serpico drew swords was maybe one of the few plus points of this episode, it was nice to see that Serpico is on the same level as Guts or maybe high, but we have to see in the future what the power match will be. And yeah, so that's only the little plus point. And the worst scenes for me were obviously any scenes where Farnese was naked, and because Farnese was an unreal person. She has no nipples, no belly button. At one point, you might kind of wonder: is he even a human being or something like that, or is he maybe an android or whatever? And and I must say, some of the worst scenes for me were maybe some battle scenes between Guts and the Apostle, because it was so very badly drawn that I couldn't see what was really going to happen, and it kind of bothered me already because of the nipple gate of Farnese, that I didn't like this episode very much. But I must say I appreciate that they didn't delete the horse rape scene because it made what Berserk really is. And I hope for the next episode that they have some guts, that they can keep the anime going a little bit more darker and more gore.
Thanks for watching the anime breakdown of Berserk. Join us next week for more breakdowns. Leave a comment, suggestions, and remember, don't let the dogs out near Guts.